Welcome. And the question today from I'm Not Insane 13 is: driving instructors of Reddit, who was the worst student you had or the craziest drive you had? Hi, this is Derek. I just put the Drama Llama, Fred, back in his llama pen, so that I can do this quick video for you with some of the stuff that Fred found on Reddit earlier today. If this is your first time watching our videos, help me out by watching to the end, and then giving me some feedback in the comment area below. And if you want more of these videos daily, don't forget to like and subscribe, with notifications turned on for this channel. Oh boy, let's get ready for some drama. Eat Coochie answered with: I'm a driving instructor who had low confidence 16-yo drive on the highway for the first time. Got her in the middle lane doing 65 when she states, I think I'm gonna fall asleep. As my mind is processing, what the F did she just say? I look over at her and her head goes clunk up against the driver's window and her eyes are closed, and she looked passed out. Her hands are still on the wheel but she turned to the left. Now we are in the left lane heading toward the median. Her foot went to the floor. I tried to get the car back onto the pavement, and I had to switch hands because I needed to get her foot off the accelerator and get the steering back under control. I got the car back onto the roadway, under control, and headed for the breakdown lane on the right side. With my heart thumping, I got the car stopped. At this point, the driver sits up alertly, laughs, and says, "Ha! What did I miss?" She had narcolepsy and she nor her parents ever told anyone. I was obligated to notify DMV, and her permit was revoked until she was certified by her doctor. Her parents were pissed. But you and I are alive because we got her off the road. That was insanely irresponsible of her parents, to allow her to even get a permit with untreated narcolepsy. This is not that surprising. Parents hate the idea of admitting that they have a sick child. One of the greatest forms of ableism is not admitting that your child might have something wrong with them. Apparently it's some pride thing. F that pride poop. Someone could die if not taken care of by a doctor. Primetime 0146 answered with: I'm a driving instructor but I teach people to drive semis. The worst student I ever had already had 4 years of driving experience, with what's called a Rocky set, 45 trailer with a 28 trailer behind it. This person couldn't turn for poop. I still wonder how they never hit anyone. So, when I train it's 228s, that's all they pull for 2 weeks. So, we take our second turn, a left onto a pretty wide street and they're turning like they're in a car. Like, not even into the intersection and they've already started to turn. I tell them no, straighten out and go forward until I tell you to turn. They keep turning, I say no. Straighten out and go forward until you pass the double yellow lines. They keep turning and if they keep turning like this we're going to clip another car turning left. At this point I say no. Straight. Just go straight. Thankfully he does. I tell them to pull over and they do. At this point, I turn to them and scream, what the F was that? Give me the keys, I'm driving. I take them back to an intersection, make a right and tell them that's how you turn, wide. Pull over at a gas station and switch back out. Same thing, poop turns. I ask them what they're doing. I'm turning, boss. I say, no, go deeper, you're going to hit someone. It took me 5 days just to get them to turn. He's a good driver though, just needed some edges worked off. I also teach semi-trucks. On the side I evaluate drivers for hire for a local company. Guy with 12 years experience, I gave him his PTI and backing skills. All those were good. The driving portion. First, it turned out on the gate he popped the curb. I asked if he was nervous. He said no, so we continued on. First turn on the road, hits a light pole. Racist sandwich answered with: Class A CDL instructor. Not my drive, but another of our trucks was heading southbound. Student driving, instructor in passenger seat. We are located in mostly suburbs/inner cities. Lots of traffic. Student in the left lane while a car heading northbound swerved into their lane. They hit a Ford Focus head-on. I arrived on scene before police, we were 5 minutes behind them, and found the guy in the Focus still in his car. I'll never forget how he looked. No injuries, just sad. And when I asked if he was okay he said, I wish I wasn't. He told officers he tried suicide by truck, and they took him to be evaluated by psychiatrists. The student and instructor were both fine, but the student ended up dropping from the program. Delica answered with, "This is the opposite, but I'll never have the chance to share this story otherwise. I was doing my second behind the wheel with a driving instructor. I was already really nervous before I got in the car and she said, 'You're the last student I'll ever have. They fired me.' After an awkward pause while she stared at me, she laughed and said, 'No, actually I'm moving to Chicago to work for a local news station.' I didn't find it nearly as funny as she did. Lol." Orange Zesty answered with, "Obligatory, not a driving instructor, but mine told me about all the worst drivers he's had. He told me about a girl I went to school with, I don't know why he shared names, and how she refused to get close to the speed limit, and he was worried she'd fail because she was too careful. I asked if he's ever felt like he was in danger, and he talked about a guy a long time ago that went way too fast and refused to slow down, blew a stoplight, and eventually got pulled over by a cop during his driving lesson. I went to school with a guy who failed his driving test the first time, because he went too slow." Decoy Snail answered with, "Not an instructor, but someone I know had his instructor scream, 'We're gonna die.'" Sweet Cheesy Beef answered with, "Former instructor here. I was also the office manager for the driver's ed. I mostly did office work but was certified to make extra cash on weekends, and to fill in an emergency. My personal worst was a very sweet, very timid girl, who was terrified to go anywhere near the speed limit, if it were anything over 30. On back roads in the country, that was terrifying. The worst one I can think of nearly caused an accident while on his driver's license test, by just pulling out of the parking lot. That's obviously an automatic fail. So the kid and instructor come back, and then the dad comes storming and pissed that his kid failed. He's screaming at me and the instructor, while the poor kid is sitting there, head in hands, obviously mortified by his dad's behavior. I ended up threatening to call the police to finally get him to leave. The absolute worst drive was, after I left the company because I moved but ended up in the news, so I found out. A kid and an instructor were on a drive, great kid by all accounts. Another driver, a dude in his truck, was distracted on his phone and hit the driver's ed car. It wasn't a terrible accident, but because of health problems. The instructor he ended up dying later at the hospital. R.I.P. Paul. I lost my marbles answered with, "Not an instructor, but when I was in driver's ed there was a guy in his third year of the class, second semester. He was a senior, and this was a one-semester class, so his sixth time. We would be on the driving course, he would go into a different student zone, I was on the figure 8, and he joined me going the wrong direction. I almost hit a different kid trying to avoid him hitting me. Crashed a car through the fence at the end of the course and into the ditch in the field by the course, ended up going the wrong way on the freeway at 70. No idea how, there was a median barrier. And crashed a car into the auto shop at the school. No idea how he was allowed to take the class in the first place, because he was apparently this bad every time he took the class. Also not sure how he survived his 5 previous times in the class." KP Biker 1 answered with, "Motorcycle instructor. I had one student blow a turn wobble around back onto the course. I'm frantically blowing my whistle to blow the exercise dead. Everyone is stopped, but the wayward rider, who then slow-mo fixated on another student and ran into them. Didn't finish the class." WH Crawler answered with, "Not an instructor, but when I was in driver's ed we had a girl that was terrifying. She was always over the middle line and hit every pothole. One especially exciting day, she put us in a ditch the car had to be towed out of, then on the next lesson, sideswiped a car in the oncoming lane. All while the instructor told us about his second job as a security guard, at a popular camping area, where he caught my stepdad screwing a family friend, before he was my stepdad. I asked stepfather about it. He laughed and admitted to it, while telling me about said instructor getting caught with my best friend's aunt, at the same place. Wild times. My uncle also fought the co-instructor when he was younger. Gotta love small towns." Rocky Roadstar answered with, "Not an instructor, but easily my aunt. We almost hit a parked van on her street, while she was trying to figure out how to close the windows." And finally, Corona Extra Beer answered with, "Not my story, but I know someone who had a really cocky student who claimed to know everything. He was so confident he made a $100 bet with his friend that he would pass. He failed. Well, there you have it. A perfectly great question answered by a bunch of fine and honorable citizens. Help support this channel by smashing the like and subscribe buttons. And hit that silly little bell as well to ensure you get the latest videos as they come out. Fred is always finding stuff for me to post regularly. So this is Derek signing off. Thanks for watching." Good grief, it sounds like Fred is out of his pen again. I think he found more drama for me to share with you. See you soon.